What's going on, everybody? Today we're back on the Cat Eye Chevy project truck. We're going to tackle some transmission upgrades and maintenance. So here's what I got for you today. We're going to install some Corvette servos in the transmission and do this upgrade right here. I also have gotten a torque converter pressure solenoid code on the truck a couple times now, cleared it and it came back. It says that it's stuck open. So I got a torque converter pressure solenoid right here. It's very simple to change out while you're doing all this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it. There's the part number right there for it. And I'm also going to do fresh transmission fluid and a transmission fluid filter, and we'll be dropping the pan. For any of y'all that saw the engine oil pickup tube O-ring replacement, as you saw, whoever owned the truck before, they weren't necessarily the greatest when it came to maintenance on this truck, so it seems. So I'm going to tackle the transmission next. I figured it'd be a good thing to do anyways. The Corvette servos will help make our shifts more crisp and help speed those up. And then obviously the torque converter pressure solenoid is needed per the codes that I'm getting. And then also, who knows when the last time is that the pan's been wiped out, the magnet's been checked in there, so it needs to be cleaned out. And then the fluid filter in the transmission, who knows when the last time that's been changed out. So we're gonna tackle all that right now. Real quick, before I get up underneath here and we get started with what we gotta do to take this all apart, please hit that like button for me on the video. Please also consider subscribing. And even if you're subscribed already, make sure that notifications bell is clicked so that you get all the notifications when I come out with a new video. All right, let's get underneath the truck. All right, so we're up underneath the truck, looking at the transmission oil pan. And then right here, there is a heat shield. And there is a couple 10mm bolts holding it on. So we're going to take that off first. When you're working on stuff like this up above you, make sure you have some safety glasses and prepare for all sorts of rocks, dirt, and debris to come out when you're removing that heat shield. So the heat shield's off. On this passenger side now, up above where that heat shield was, you can now see where the servo is at. We'll get to that in a minute. The next thing that we gotta do is we gotta get the transmission shift cable out the way. We just gotta gently pry it off of the gear selector. And then back here, there's a little clip right here where these two prongs are sticking through. We just gotta take out this little clip. Don't lose it. Pull out that little clip, and then we can push these little tabs right here. And once we push these little tabs, we can work that cable right back out of that holder. Then that'll just slide right out of there and right out of the way. This little metal bracket right here is gonna have to be bent out of the way to get the pan down, because otherwise it's in the way of the pan. Get it clear, and then you just simply bend it back and put it back in place. Those Torx bits are super tight up top. I even tried to remove one and it started to bend the actual Torx bit and twist it. So that wasn't happening. So we're going to bend this out the way. All right, so now I've kind of tweaked that out of the way. The way that I did it, you can use like a channel locks or something. I like to use like a big crescent wrench, and I had it cinched down a little bit more than this. I like to put it on that metal and slide it around it, because you're trying to get a good hold on it. Just take it nice and easy, and it'll bend and tweak out the way. Next, we're going to take out all 16 of these 13mm bolts, and we're going to start dropping the pan. All right, so I got the pan down, tried to catch as much of the fluid as I could on the way down. Be prepared with plenty of rags. Next thing to do was to pull the transmission fluid filter down. You just want nice and easy, work it on out. It's got a little grommet that it's in, and that's it. So now that the transmission fluid filter is down, we have easy access to the torch converter solenoid. You're just gonna nice and easy pry this connection off, move it out the way. We're gonna rotate this down until you see there's a clip right here, and it's gonna come out of this slot. Be super careful not to lose it because it will go flying. There will be a little fluid that'll come out. You're gonna want to catch that. There's a little metal screen on the back side. You can see if there's any shavings or anything that's gotten caught in it, and I don't see any. If you missed it before, here's the part number for the new one. It already comes a little bit lubed up with transmission fluid, but you want to make sure you got some transmission fluid on your O-rings. Then you're just going to install your new one. Just like that, you'll hear it pop. And then we're going to reinstall the clip. All right, and it's installed. Now we're just going to reattach the electrical. Before we put it up in, just get a little bit of transmission fluid on so it goes in nice and easy. Just nice and easy. Just press it on in until it sits up there nice and level. Make sure it's in there straight, right where it's gonna sit at. Okay, as you can see on our transmission pan, it's just got some normal material, I would say, in the bottom of the pan. Nothing really metal or anything like that. The main thing I'd say that I'm noticing is I think this transmission fluid, it's just time for it to be changed out. It just doesn't look very fresh. So perfect time to do it. So now I'm gonna get this transmission pan wiped out, get the gasket scraped off, get it ready to go back in the truck. So now our transmission pan is all cleaned up, and then you just want to make sure that everywhere where it's ridged up, where this gasket's going to seal at, you want to make sure that's all clean. And next we're going to go tackle that servo. So now we're going to tackle taking out the stock servo and putting in the new Corvette servo. So inside of this, where it's going into the transmission, there is a spring behind it. So you'll have to push in a little bit towards the transmission. Sometimes you'll have to do that to free up the snap ring. You gotta get behind the snap ring and pry it out. So if you put a pry bar right here, you can watch it go in like that. Also be aware of the oil that'll come out of this hole. Don't let it get down on you. So we can push that in and then release that snap ring. There it is. And we're just going to work it out all the way around. There it is. So now the snap ring is out. Try not to damage it too bad if you're going to reuse it, but in the kit that I got, it came with a new one, so I wasn't too worried about it. Now we got to go the other way with the servo, and we've got to work on prying it out. You can grab it with a pair of pliers like this, and you can actually turn it where it's housed. Okay, now we've got it out to where right here, right there, you can see there's a blue O-ring. So we got to get that O-ring out, and then this assembly is going to come out. So now you can see I've got a hold of the O-ring with my pick. Then I'm going to grab it with my needle nose. What we're going to do is we're going to cut that O-ring, and then we're just going to pull it out, and it's going to slip right out with the needle nose. So I'm going to pull it down with my hook. I'm going to grab it with the needle nose. Then I'm going to cut one end of it. And then you're just going to pull out that O-ring. Once that O-ring's out, now the servo will come out. All right, and then you want to save this spring that came out with the assembly, because that's going to get reused. So now you can see we've got the old servo assembly, and then we've got the new one. We've got our new snap ring right here. Keep track of how these parts go, but they will slip apart so that you can get it down smaller to get it slipped up into there. We're going to lube up the O-rings with transmission fluid. And then that spring is going to go right here on that back side. And then we're going to install this right where we took the old one out. All right, and now as you can barely see, that snap ring is installed. That was kind of a pain to get that snap ring up in there. You basically have to push back on it and push the snap ring in all at the same time. All right, so now I'm all done with the bottom side. I've already put on the oil pan, the gasket on it and everything. I use my little trick to where I like to use just a little bit of something like some RTV silicone, just a dab in like the corners will help to keep that gasket on straight, because you're gonna bump it when you take and slide that pan up underneath there. So that's just a little trick I like to use. So it's in, it's torqued, and the shield is back on, and then the cable goes back on the way that I showed you that it came off. I don't want to bore y'all with the details. So now we're gonna start filling the transmission with fluid. I'm gonna start by adding about 3 quarts or so, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour the old oil into the empties that I just poured the new fluid into the transmission. And then I'm gonna fill it as they become empty. And then that way I'll get a good feel for how much fluid I took out. Of course, a little bit landed in rags, and then also the transmission fluid filter, it had a bit, soaked up in its material. But I dumped as much as I could into that pan, and that's a 5-quart pan. So looks like I'm gonna be adding at least 4 quarts. So I ended up filling up 4 quarts, plus this one here is a little bit over a half. So 5 quarts looks like it's going to be a safe level to probably get dead on where I need to be by the time that new filter soaks up some fluid and all that. So I'm going to start with 5 quarts. So now I've got the transmission full of 5 quarts. I'm going to run and drive it. I'm going to check out the level. Once it gets up to operating temp, I'll do a driving review video of the servos and how the truck is shifting now in another video. I don't want this video to get too long and drawn out. So next video, I'll do a full review and let you all see on the dash how it's shifting and how it's reacting. And I ask that y'all please like the video, please subscribe, please ring that notifications bell, and leave me a comment of what you think about the video and what you think about the install or any of it. So that's going to do it for today's video. I really hope that y'all enjoyed it. I hope you keep coming back to watch more and check out others on the channel. So thank y'all for watching.